this time of life can be so easily wasted when it isn't used very wisely in to live with legacy even as a young person. Because like I just don't feel like multi-generational living generationally is a perspective that young people have. But failure is an opportunity for you to be more experienced. Praise Lord that you fail. So it's an opportunity for you to be more experienced at that thing, because that failure actually allowed you to examine how you failed and how you can make changes. Boom. Mind blown. If I would have known that. You don't have to live a wasted life just because, or a wasted youth, just because that's the way in which the world is showing you that you should live as a young person. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Living Generationally podcast. I'm your host, Brianna Laurie, and I am excited to be here. And that is just going to be a part of the intro, because I truly am excited in anytime or every day, because the Lord is good even when moments are hard, but especially when I get to be on the podcast and just share things that the Lord has been working in my own heart or has brought up in my own life, and some things that I just want to share with y'all and hear your perspective and what the Lord is doing. So it's always an exciting time. And if you're new here and if you don't know the purpose of Living Generationally exists to challenge and equip you to live a life of legacy that leads to the future. When you're considering how your daily actions and decision making not only impacts the current generation, but also the next generation as well too. And it's exciting because I actually remember that in my brain before. If you watch previous podcast episodes, I had to read it off like my computer or a paper, because your girl just had some issues memorizing it. But the more you repeat something, the easier it becomes in your memory. So I've heard, or I think it's true. It's working. But yeah, I'm thinking of starting a new segment in the podcast. Um I don't know. I've watched other podcasts and them do highs and lows, and I really love and enjoy that. So I may do something like that. I think I may do something like that, or like redeeming the time, because that's another like heart posture of like living generationally, is like living in such a way where you're redeeming the time and not wasting it, which is also something I'm being sanctified in and growing in daily. I haven't got it all perfect, but yeah, I think I'm gonna start with a high or a low. I think I like that. We can switch it up later on, and it can change. It can always change. Like, things don't always have to remain the same. If the Lord gives me another idea, I can either add it or switch it. But I think I want to do a high low, because it just lets you get more into my own life and hear what the Lord is doing, and things that I may be struggling with a bit, and or things that it's amazing, and the Lord has been um, so faithful and good. He's faithful in the low moments too. The high moments are just always more joyful to share. Yes, so we're going to get into the highs and lows. And if you hear anything in the background, that is my sister's turtle tank. It's a bit noisy, but I think it's okay. I think as I speak, me speaking over it, what you won't be able to hear it that much. So I'm trying to think. Do I want to start with the low or high? I'm gonna start with the high. I think the high of this week is receiving a wedding invitation from a sister in the Lord for her wedding, and I'm excited to celebrate her and her future husband. So that is exciting. Just joyfully receiving the invitation, and just a blessing and a privilege to be able to be a part of such a special celebration of becoming one, and just making um, a lifelong commitment. And I think it's wonderful and amazing. And I was so joyful to receive that invitation on Sunday at church. Yeah, so that was really exciting. And I think my low, Trying to think. What would be my low? Hmm. Okay, I know my low. I think my low would be just realizing how hard it can be to build strong relationships, especially when they're strained, and just learning how to push through that and not being discouraged by it being strained, but taking it to the Lord and walking in humility, because I just am not the most humble person. That's something the Lord has grown me in, and I can just be very stubborn, which is also something the Lord is continuously, daily growing me in, and I think I'm just learning how to communicate and do that well, and walk in faithfulness and be okay with not doing everything perfectly. Just walking with the Lord and having Him grow me. Um, but I do think that is something that's definitely low, is realizing how hard it could be to restore strained relationships after like you put in the work and it not going as you thought it would be. And the enemy, he wants to separate things that the Lord wants to bring about. So I think that is definitely my low. But it's also like it brings me closer to the Lord. So that can also be a high too. But yeah, so that is all for the high and low for today. And the topic for today's episode is kind of something like I've thought of last minute, honestly, but it's been brewing for a long time. I like that. It's definitely something that I've thought about before, and something that the Lord is brought to my attention in. Yeah. So today's topic, or like message, I don't know which one, but it's kind of like a podcast to young people. I don't know what I'm gonna title it, but I just have dear young people. Um, so that is kind of like what today's episode is gonna be, and it's gonna just be talking about like the narrative in which that young people are living in, and kind of what the world expects of them, and what the message of the world, and how this time of life can be so easily wasted when it isn't used very wisely. And just talking about like what it looks like to live with legacy even as a young person, because I was like, I just don't feel like multi-generational living generationally is a perspective that young people have. And not even young people, I feel like it's a perspective that most people don't have. And honestly, it wasn't a perspective I had until rather recently, when the Lord began to introduce to me what it means to live with legacy, and live generationally, to live with intentionality, and live with a multi-generational vision and mission, and live with that perspective of how am I living, and how the things that I'm doing is going to impact those around me, but also the next generation of, like, Lord willing, having children one day, and even just family and those around us. So that is kind of the heart behind today's episode, just diving into that and just wanting to encourage young people, give advice, wished what I wish I would have known, or wish someone would have came along and kind of just talk to me about, and just say, hey, like, it's okay that you don't live according to what everyone else is doing. um yeah, so it's kind of me being your big sis, and be like, hey, just pulling you alongside and just wanting to talk to you. Yeah, but without further ado, let's get into today's episode. First, I just want to start off by um I want to start off just talking about the current state of young people within our culture and our world. I just feel like, in the statistics show, not even just feel like, the statistics show that young people are struggling. we're struggling. Young people, young adults, everyone is struggling. Like, it's just, we're like this. Yeah, we're in a time where anxiety and depression and all these things and mental health have skyrocketed. You've heard the statistics, you know it. um but especially young people, they have my heart, because I am a young person myself, and I understand the confusion and the lack of purpose and just not knowing what to do and just feeling confused. And I feel like every young person, I feel like throughout history, may have gone through that. I don't know, I could be wrong, but I feel like that is more true. But it seems like we're in an interesting time with our young people where it's just like we ain't got no clue. We got no clue. Um and I just want to speak to that, because it's pretty sad to hear the statistics of anxiety and depression and mental health amongst young people. And I'm sure there's other reasons for that statistic, not just saying that it's for the there's not just saying that those statistics are high because young people are lacking in purpose, but I do believe that part of those statistics are because young people are lacking in purpose and don't see their life as adding value to society, um, or their life as adding value to a multi-generational legacy that they can build and the next generation can build and can be passed on. I don't think that perspective is encouraged amongst our young people today. It's kind of just live for the now, live for today, live for yourself. That's literally the messaging of the world. Like, listen to any popular song or any popular movies or advertisements or stuff like that. It's kind of, the message is live for yourself, live for the pleasures of the world, live for whatever pleases you. Do not care about the next person. Excuse me. Do not care about the next person. And then we wonder why marriage rates are marriage divorce rates are so high. Like, look at the messaging of the world. Like, can we put two and two together? But yeah, the messaging of the world is encouraging young people to focus on the self. And then our sinful nature just eats that up, because it's like, man, I can focus on myself. This is what the world is telling me to do. I don't have to care about anyone else. I can pursue my own desires, and I can pursue the riches of this world. I don't have to, you name it. It's like the messaging of the world is that for young people to pursue their own desires, and we wonder why they're so entitled and selfish. It's because if we put two and two together, like I mentioned, it's because the messaging of the world. So we should not be surprised that when someone is telling you to pursue yourself and your own desires, you should not be um surprised when someone actually pursues that and actually becomes entitled and start walking around like they are the only one that matters, that like they are the only one that matter here on earth. um and that also pours into relationships, like just being selfish. And I'm just imagining how many relationships just go wrong, go really really wrong. But yeah, and it's like, it's not about you. it's it's not about you. This world is not about you. And yes, I do believe that youth and being a young person, especially when you're there can be a different age. When I think say young person, I also think of like young adult too. So you be a young adult, a young person. If you're single and you don't have much responsibilities, I do believe it's an amazing opportunity to grow. And we should always be growing no matter what season of life you're in. But to grow and to work on your character and to build your character, like I guess when people say focus on yourself in that aspect, I wouldn't disagree, because I do think that it's important that we are continuously growing and making efforts to grow in that character and to allow the Lord to prune us. But in totality, it's not about you. It's your life is not meant for Brianna alone. It's not meant for me to focus on myself. And scripture very clearly talks against selfishness and self-centeredness, and pridefulness. Um, yeah. And I think that um, young people today, I think the message I would have wanted to hear, like when I was younger, is that it's okay to be different. It's okay to not be pursuing what everyone else is pursuing. It's okay to have standards. Man, I feel like the standards are either worldly or just low. It's either worldly or very low. And yeah, it's okay to have standards. It's okay to actually have vision and mission and desires the Lord puts on your heart that you want to do and you want to be and you want to encourage others. And for me, as a young woman, and I am still a young woman, and as a woman, and being like even a younger woman, it's okay to have the desire to be a wife and a mom one day. It's not oppressive the way the world says it is. It's not oppressive. You do not have to pursue a career like everyone else if that is not what the Lord is leading you to do. And I pray that some of y'all just like have a deep breath and a sigh of relief, because I feel like it's almost expected that you have to do this, you have to go to college, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this. And it's like, hey, take a deep breath. The Lord is the one who's in control. He's the one who's going to guide and lead you. And hear me, I am not saying that education isn't important. You can get an education and not go to college. But I'm also not saying college is bad. I'm not saying college is bad. I'm just saying that you don't have to pursue what everyone else is pursuing. Um, and that is okay. Yes, people are not going to understand, but would you rather live a life of obedience and the Lord is calling you to do and the desires He has placed in your heart? Would you rather live a life where you are constantly living up to the standards of the world that are never ending and feel like a big weight on your back? I would really ask you that question and ask that you genuinely consider that, because it's only going to continue this cycle when you're continuously trying to please others in the world, and it's only going to continue throughout your life. It has to stop somewhere. I think young people especially struggle with peer pressure and just the pressures of the world, because that time feels such a, that those years feel so formative, which they are, but they also feel like if this person doesn't view me as this, then I'm this. I don't know, but I just want to encourage you that hey, yes, you may look as the world as weird and what you want to do or desire to do and it being different, but I want to encourage you to seek the Lord and see what He has for you and not what everyone else is telling you that you have to do. And and go to those around you. Find mentors who share similar desires as you or who challenge you, because I think something also is that, like, I don't know, like, I think sometimes people are like, you're perfect just the way you are, and anyone can hear that, but it's like, you're not perfect just the way you are. You need to work on yourself. And that may be harsh to hear, but you need to hear it. I need to hear it. I'm not perfect. We're not perfect. We all need to work on ourselves. And that's also another messaging of the world, that you're perfect just the way you are. You are enough. You are not enough. You are not enough. And we think by saying that, like, have we not learned? Like, I'm sorry, I'm just getting a little frustrated here. We tell people that they are enough, and look at the state of our world. Look at people today. Like, are we not learning, like, the messaging you're not enough? The messaging that you are enough is not, it's only having people seek the answers of life and satisfaction within themselves, and is leaving people more broken, more dissatisfied, realizing that, oh, they actually are imperfect and they're not enough. But the messaging that they're hearing is they are enough. So they keep finding worth and value within themselves, and they're constantly disappointed. And we wonder why. And we wonder why our world is gone crazy. Um, yeah, sorry that I went on a little rant right there, but it just frustrates me, like in a genuine, loving, caring way, because I know I'm not enough. And that was the messaging I heard when I was a young person. And I knew I was broken, and I knew I could not fit the mold, and I couldn't be perfect, or yeah, I knew I wasn't enough. But that was the messaging I heard. So I kept looking for worth and value within myself. Um yeah, and also something else I want to encourage young people is learning to serve. It is so important that you learn how to serve other people. It's so important. Um, it grows your character. It stretches you. It teaches you how to love and care for others. Um, it's beautiful. And the more you serve, the more you actually realize that is the most fulfilling thing, is living for the Lord and living for other people. And that is something I am learning, and I'm still learning and growing. And you're in young person, you're still gonna learn and grow as you get older, that um though serving others can be stretching and hard, it is so beautiful. It is so absolutely beautiful and so worthwhile. And I want to encourage you to keep pressing in, look to the needs of those around you, serve your community, serve those around you. And this is a time where you have so much time and strength and youth. You please use it well. Ask the Lord how he would ask the Lord how he would work in you and through you, and I'm sure he will show you, because the Lord loves a willing heart. He loves a heart that is willing to do his will, um and joyfully. Do it joyfully. That would definitely set you apart. Do it joyfully. Don't just serve, but do it joyfully. And I also want to encourage you, young person, and and whoever's listening in on this podcast, is that your story of brokenness doesn't have to end there. Just take a deep breath and just replay that in your heart and mind. Your story of brokenness does not have to end there. Whatever background you come from, whatever your story is, I don't know what pain you've been through. I don't know what hardship or adversity you have to overcome, but I do know that the Lord truly cares. And I don't just say that just to say that because I'm a Christian, but I say that because it is so true. And I'm learning that so intimately in the season of life, and learning more about the character of the Lord. The Lord truly cares about your pain and your hurt, but He doesn't want, He cares enough to not allow you to stay there. And I think the mindset that the world is maybe perpetuating is the word I'm looking for. The mindset in which the world is kind of magnifying, that's the word I'm looking for. The mindset in which the world is magnifying right now is you get to cling on to your hurts and pains. And I've mentioned this in other podcast episodes, that the world is saying that you deserve to cling on to your hurts and pains. And it's like creating this victim mindset within people. And not to say they aren't true victims out there, because there are. But someone who is a victim, who actually overcomes, is someone who doesn't live in a mindset of a victim, that they're a victim, but that actually recognizes that they've been hurt, but use their pain for healing, and not only for themselves, but for others who may have gone through similar hurts and pains, and use their story as an opportunity to bring change. And that is a distinction, and that is what I want to encourage you in. And I want to encourage you to take your hurts and pains to the Lord, because I truly believe that He cares. But no, He's going to use them, and in the way He used them may not be in the way that you think. He may use it to stretch you, to break you, and then the breaking is not, it's ultimately for your good. I was going to say it's not for your harm, but it's ultimately for your good. It's to have you look more like Jesus. Um, but your brokenness, it is an opportunity. It truly is an opportunity. And I don't know if that's encouraged much or you've been encouraged in that way. But I want to encourage you that your brokenness is an opportunity. You may say, how is that an opportunity? Because in the brokenness, in what you have gone through, in what you've experienced, it is an opportunity for you to break the cycle of generational dysfunction and trauma and baggage. It is an opportunity for you to say, no, it ends with me, no more. I'm breaking the cycle. And by the Lord's strength and grace, and by Him inviting others into that process of you growing, being stretched, and seeing, hey, like, dysfunction and brokenness is not my story. It doesn't have to be the end of my story. It can be a launching pad for breakthrough, not only in your life but in the life of those around you. And I want to encourage you in that, because I don't know what background you're coming from as you're listening to this podcast. You may say, like, oh, that sounds good, but how does that apply to me? I came from this background, or I came from a divorce background, or my mom or my dad wasn't there, or this happened to me when I was a child, or this happened. Like, there's so much that you can be experiencing as you're listening to this episode. And I want to say that I don't, like I mentioned before, I don't know exactly your story, but I do know I serve a God that who wants to use your brokenness and use it for something beautiful. You may have heard the terminology, he gives beauty for ashes. And I truly believe that's what he does. He makes dead things alive. I am a living testimony of that. Um, as a young person, I was just so self-centered, and you know, people say, well, that's the age where you're supposed to be self-centered, and I think that needs to go to the garbage, because I kind of understand the premise and the the idea that's being brought up from saying that, but I just don't think that should be encouraged. But it's that, oh my goodness, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, like I remember, it's you should not be focused on yourself. You should not take that message and actually live in it or up to it. You should truly see your youth as an opportunity to grow and to be challenged and to serve and to allow the Lord to take it and use it as He wills. But selfishness is not on the top of what I would encourage you in. But um, yeah, there is opportunity in your brokenness, and I kind of lost my train of thought. I honestly, but I kind of remember what I was saying. That yeah, there's opportunity in your brokenness, and I truly believe that the Lord wants to use it, and all you just have to be willing. Oh, I was talking about me being a young person. Yes. Yes, I remember. Thank you, Lord. Yeah, me being a young person, I just remember that, man, I mean, externally, I could look okay to the outside world, but internally, it was just so much turmoil going on in my heart, just wrestling and confusion and lack of stability and identity. Just so much brokenness felt within my heart. And little did I know, the Lord, soon, I was my senior year, was it my senior year of high school, the Lord got a hold of me and He began the journey of growing me. But it is not easy. It's not easy. It's breaking. It's hard, but it's good. We know, according to Romans 8:28, the Lord works all things good for those who love God and are called according to His purpose. The Lord is working it for good, even though it may be hard. Um, yeah. And I also want to say, young person, it does matter who you hang out with. It does matter who you hang out with. I just would have loved if that was more encouraged more. Let's be honest. You heard it, but you're like, yeah, I love my friends. They're so cool. But as you get older, I'm only 23, but I'm 22. I'll be 23 soon. But you just start to think, actually, I should have just chose my friends more wisely. But it does matter who you hang out with. Um, there's a quote: "You become like you become like the three most people you hang out with." Is that kind of like the quote? I think. But truly, you truly become like the people you hang out with. You may not think so, but examine yourself. I'm telling you, you do. Like one of my close friends now, like she is a gem. She is so faithful and such a faithful friend. But there's like some phrases and some things that she says that I realize that I say, and it's like it's just funny, or just the way that you just pick up on things. But yeah, that's all just to give you an example that you do. It does matter who you hang out with, and you become like those you hang out with. My legs kind of hurt from being crisscross applesauce, but now they're stretched out a bit. Also, I want to encourage you to build skills. You have so much time. We have so much time. And before, you probably listen to other podcast episodes, but there's moments where I can easily complain about this so much time that I have. But now I'm like, I'm just gonna praise. Like anytime, I'm just gonna hold myself to Lord will like, Lord, may you hold me to that. That when I just complain about how much time that I have, just rejoice. Like there's so much time. You can build skills, work with your hands. Like we have lost the joy and the beauty of building and making and crafting things with our own hands. It's kind of like we're on TikTok all day or Instagram all day or social media all day. Get off of social media and do something with your life. Please do something with your life. Build, create. You're more creative than you think. I'm telling you, you may say, oh, I'm not creative. I'm telling you that you can be. I was that person who said, oh, I'm not that creative. And I just got started with something and I realized, oh, wait, I can be creative. Like, look, I don't know if you can see it, but if you're listening on the podcast or in Spotify or Apple, you may not be able to see, but if you want to see, you can head over to YouTube. But I created this. Look how beautiful that is. This is embroidery. I created that. I created that. I don't know if I can hang it back up there. Yeah, it's probably a little wonky. But I created that. And I crocheted a bag. Like a bag. I crocheted a bag. Like you are more creative than what you think you are. You just have to put in the work. You have to be willing to fail. And that's something else. Failure is an opportunity. I know is when you're young, it's easy to just fail and just stop the thing because you're like, well, I failed and it's not fun. But failure is an opportunity for you to be more experienced. Praise Lord that you fail. So it's an opportunity for you to be more experienced at that thing because that failure actually allowed you to examine how you failed and how you can make changes. Boom. Mind blown. If I would have known that. And it's like sometimes we do hear these things, but maybe we're not just ready to receive it. Maybe we're just too I was about to say ignorant, but let's be honest. I know I was when I was younger and probably still am in a lot of ways. But yeah, I just want to encourage you to build, use your hands, do something, be creative. And these are skills you can also pass down to those around you, but also to the next generation. Lord willing, if you have children, I want children. Lord willing, if you want children. These are skills and gifts and beautiful, amazing things you can pass down on to your children. Um, Yeah, I mentioned fail and learn from failure because it's an amazing opportunity. And like I mentioned earlier, invite others for criticism. You know, it's easy when you're a young person to just view as everyone's opinion as the most valuable thing, and that, oh, like if I don't live up to this standard, then oh, then I'm nothing, and we all are nothing. Let's just put it that way. Before the Lord, we need Him. Um, but it is the quickest way to become humble is to invite others for criticism and to help build and grow your character. Like, you want to be humble, do that. It just, you can't see all your blind spots. You can't see it. You cannot see it. So invite others. And what I mean by criticism, you healthy criticism, but even those who may not say it in the most lovely, beautiful way, you can still take what they say and work on it, especially if it applies. Purity is so important, especially within our world. It is not encouraged anymore. It's like, well, you can do anything you want, have sex outside of marriage, do this, do that. Don't save yourself from marriage. And it's like, it's such a beautiful thing to do that. And it's not only that, the Lord commands us to do so, and there's freedom in that. And um yeah, and it's so beautiful. It is so beautiful. And we must get back to what the Lord says in His Word. And I would have loved to hear that. Would have loved to have heard of that in high school and even in college too. Just, or even just at youth, just seeing the importance of purity and just seeing the beauty that it is, and just seeing what Scripture says about it too. What a lovely thing. Um, and if you want a book recommendation, I love reading. I've gone back into reading and it's been amazing. But if you want a book recommendation, this is called, I don't know if you can see it, it's probably like backwards. But this is called Passion and Purity by Elizabeth Elliot. And it's so good. It says Passion and Purity, learning to bring your love life under Christ's control. And it's so good because I feel like many young people just need the wisdom that Elizabeth Elliot shares in her book, and just being patient, waiting on the Lord, and just walking with the Lord through those longings and hardships that you feel. Because the Lord, He cares about our trivialities, no matter how small they are. Um, yeah, and yeah, there is hard work. You need to work hard, um, and there's gonna be rejection. There's gonna be disappointments. There's going to be hard things that you have to go through, but they're all being used for your good. It may not feel that way at the time, though, but know that the Lord is faithfully using it all for good. Um, yeah. Um, and ask the Lord for guidance. Ask the Lord what He wants you to do. And yes, there's going to be lack of clarity. There's always going to be lack of clarity because we have to walk by faith. The Lord wants us to walk by faith and go to Him and ask for wisdom and guidance. There's always going to be a season of waiting. I work on patience. You know what they say, don't pray for patience, but I pray, just pray for it. Just pray for it. The Lord, the Lord will guide you and lead you. Um, but yeah, don't just sit there and do nothing. Don't play video games all day. And I may get pushed back on this, but yeah, just don't play video games all day, or be on your phone all day, or be on your laptop all day. Like, don't be a lump on the log. Do something with your life. Do something with your life. And even if there's a lack of clarity, continuously pray and seek the Lord and ask others for wisdom. But even in the waiting, you can also still work heartily unto the Lord. Don't allow the lack of clarity to keep you stagnant. There's so much good you can be a part of, and I'm sure there's someone who would love your help in time. and just love your company. There's a lot of hurting people in this world. I'm sure someone would love for you to be there with them. And it's okay to rest too. You may think, but Brianna, you didn't talk about that. It's okay to rest. It's okay to rest. It's okay to rest. I want to encourage you to rest, but to also work as well too, because work is important. And I feel like that's also been something that has been, what's the word I'm looking for? Also something that has been kind of tainted. That is a good word. Work is a good thing, and the Lord calls us to work. I feel like I should do a podcast episode about work. I feel like it ties in so well with the theme of this podcast. Um, yeah, but work is so important. It is so important, and the Lord wants His people to work, especially unto Him. Work heartily unto the Lord. Not that you're doing it for man, but do it as you're doing it unto the Lord. And those are really my encouragements for young people. And you may listen to this, you may not be a young person, and that is okay. But if you are an older person, share this with a young person so they can get vision, get encouragement, get encouraged. Yeah, to be encouraged, because these are some things I wish I would have heard just growing. I'm about to say growing up, being a young person. I'm still a young adult, still considered a young person, but just being a younger person. Yeah, you get what I'm trying to say. But I just want to encourage you, like, the purpose of this episode is to say that you can live with legacy today. You don't have to live a wasted life just because, or a wasted youth, just because that's the way in which the world is showing you that you should live as a young person. I think there's like where it's, I'm thinking of a verse. I think it's in First Timothy. I don't know if it's First Timothy 4:12. I've tried to put it on the screen. I think I tried to put verses on the screen before and it didn't work, but Lord willing, I'll try to put it up somewhere right here. Um, but I think it's First Timothy 4:12. Paul was encouraging Timothy, who was a young person himself. I don't know how old he was, but specifically, but he said, "Do not let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in conduct, speech, love, faith, and purity." I don't know if I butchered that, but yeah, do not let anyone look down on you because you're young. The Lord can use you, and He wants to use you. And just because you're young does not mean you have to live with such um flippant ideas and behavior. You can live as a young person with intentionality and purpose and vision and mission, and with a multi-generational legacy perspective. And I feel like young people before, as they were being raised in these principles, lived in such a way because they knew that what they were doing in their youth mattered so much, and that it was being the foundation of a life of legacy and purpose and vision and mission. And that is my encouragement to you. And that is a purpose living generationally. It's not only for young people, but it's to encourage you that every day is a legacy moment, and every day is an opportunity to redeem the time and to use it in such a way that is pleasing and honoring to the Lord. And it's not that every moment you're going to be working or doing something. You can be being still before the Lord, but it's just seeing your life as important and seeing these days as important and not wasting them. If the Lord has given you another day, has given me another day, He wants you to use it well for His glory. And I'm saying it so much passion because I just like, I'm just so frustrated to see the state of young people today, and that we're lacking so much purpose and vision and mission. I believe that that is adding so much to the anxiety and depression, because we're not seeing our life as valuable or as an opportunity to not only for our own individual success, like that, throw that away, like, but for the success of future generations and those around us. Imagine how more purpose life Imagine how more purposeful life would be if we lived in such a way where we saw our life as a multi-generational legacy, as we see our life as not impacting not only ourselves, but the current generation and the next generation. And that is the heart of living generationally. Friends, young people, be encouraged. there's so much work to be done. There's so much you can do. There's so much purpose that the Lord wants to offer you. And there's so much work that the Lord wants to do in your heart. Allow Him to do it. Like, character takes your will. Like, that isn't talked about a lot. The Lord sanctifies us, but the Lord has also given you a will. And character is of you. The Lord is not going to force you to have good character. The Lord is not going to force you to be a servant. The Lord's not going to force you um, to be joyful, or to be self-giving, or to He may put you in situations where you can do that. He may guide and lead you in that, but it takes your will to actually want to have a character that it's of love. Love is a choice. It is a choice. You get to choose to love. These are choices of the will. We must offer up our will back to the Lord and allow Him to work in our life. But it still takes our choice to be willing to be worked on. Yeah. So those are all the points I wanted to cover in this episode. And I'm sure there can be part 2s and 3s and 4s and 5s and many parts to this episode, because there's so much more I want to say, and each thing could be dived in deeper. And if you want me to do that, you can comment down below in the comment section. I would love to hear your perspective. What are things that you think I missed, or should have talked more about, or what is something that you want me to talk more about in following episodes? And yeah, and with that, that is the end of today's podcast episode. And friends, Lord willing, I will see you back next. Lord willing, I will see you back next in the next episode. You can look out for that. And if you want to look at previous episodes, you can look at those. They're probably not the best because I'm still learning and growing, but it's something. It is something. We're working. We're doing something. But yeah, until next time, live with legacy leading to the future. Goodbye, friends.